playing the santur in a traditional setting or in a traditional context has a lot to do with timing and precision. But on your recording Bee-gaah, you have a track where you kind of do away with all of that and talk about a sense of timelessness. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's true. Plus, some of the modes in which improvisations happen, for example, char-gaah, se-gaah, du-gaah, ras-panj-gaah, and so on, they have the suffix gaah in them that indicates time, gaah for time. This is Bee-gaah, so in another way it implies that the traditional way of performance is not followed. It's some other how. It's gaahless actually, meaning it indicates maybe kind of that it's not traditional anymore, but at the same time it's still Iranian music. Maybe I should explain this. For a while I thought with myself what makes music Iranian. For instance, when you hear something, how can you tell if it is Iranian or not? Because, lots of things are going on around the world, especially in the U.S., in Southern California, Los Angeles area and so on, that claim to be Iranian, but when you listen to them, they are, sometimes you might think they are, sometimes you might think they are not. And also we have borrowed instruments from the other musical cultures. So I was wondering what makes music Iranian. So after I read some different things and I researched on music and I listened to different variety of music performances, I just concluded with myself, I don't know to what extent I might be correct, but this is what I think right now, that phrasing and ornaments you apply in your music indicate, actually assigns if your music is Iranian or not. So we use some specific kinds of ornaments and phrasings, like you can hear my English. If somebody is used to hearing Iranian accent while somebody speaks English, you can tell, yeah, this accent must be from Iran. Same as music, we use some specific kinds of ornaments or phrasing in performance of music. So it's so amazing that according to this, you might as well say that what assigns the Iranianship to the music performance is not the kind of instrument which is performing the music. And there are some good examples for this. When violin entered the country, the way people started applying it was they would just put the violin down and play it vertically, basically like how you would hold a cello. They played it like that because there's some similar instrument to violin in Iranian music, kamanche, which is played in that manner. So they started playing violin like that, and they call it kamanche farangi, meaning, let's say, European kamanche. So another example would be the use of trumpet in tazieh music. Tazieh, it's a kind of music for some specific time of year that celebrates the martyrdom of some religious leaders, some historical events anyway. But the trumpet is being used in that. And all the texts and the poetry and everything is in Farsi. So that would be another good example. Or clarinet. Clarinets, although it's not being used in Iranian music anymore, but until a few decades ago, clarinet wasn't used. So it's so amazing that all these European instruments sound Iranian to the people. They are used in that specific manner I talked about, meaning those phrasings and ornaments are used during the performance on these instruments. So now the non-traditional part of Bee-gaah. So this was the Iranian part of Bee-gaah because I used some extended techniques on santur, some techniques that were not in use normally. For example, I started using the pegs and the size of the strings that are usually not used as well, tapping on the instrument and using different kinds of mallets at the same time. For example, when you play the instrument, you use a pair of similar mallets. For example, the felt on the tip of the mallet is, use same kind of felt on both mallets. But I sometimes use the mallet with felt and other mallets without. So sometimes I even use two different kinds of mallets to get two different timbres of sound. So this is the Iranian way of using santur in a non-traditional way. I have had always obsession with this word tradition, because I feel that if you want to, stay within tradition, then you should, compromise, and you should ignore and disregard some possibilities that you could take advantage of. And then if you want to use your imagination, I think the instrument you have, when I say instrument, could be anything, could be whatever you do if you eat, using silverware, or how about if you are a carpenter, I'm talking about the hammer as your instrument, and so on. So if you want to use your imagination, I think your tool should adapt to your imagination, not your imagination to your tool. As Mark Twain, your fellow writer, said once, I don't remember the exact sentence, but he said something like, when I was younger, I had a very good memory. I could remember everything, the things that happened and also the things that had not happened. At the same time, there's some good poems. We have a poet called محمد رضا شفیعی کرکنی. اگر میشد صدا را دید، چه گلهایی که از باغ صدای تو به هر آواز میشد چید. اگر میشد صدا را دید. Oh, only if sound was visible, then what flowers you could pick from your voice, only if sound was visible. So this is all about imagination. So I just wanted to adapt the instrument to these extended ideas, let's put it this way. So this is the history of Bee-gaah. So this is how I just came up with this idea.
Where is it going to go from here?
I think if you come up with some good sauce for your food, you can store it and use the food in different occasions. So I put this Bee-gaah in a jar, and I am saving it on a shelf, and whenever I need it, I just take some of it. Sometimes I need a lot of sauce in some musical productions, meaning some performances and so on, or some compositions. Sometimes you just need a touch of this sauce. This is kind of how I use it. So
it's kind of become your signature, but are you going to introduce more ingredients into your cooking? Because your recording is a solo performance that was recorded in 2006.
The way I cook is, first of all, I open the fridge, I see what the ingredients are that I have in the fridge, and then I start cooking. I go from there, because I don't believe in that you need lots of strange things, so many things from all over the place to make something good. I think if something is going to be good, it will be good, whatever ingredient you use.
Any thoughts on perhaps what your instructors would think of Bee-gaah? You had obviously a traditional education in Tehran. So what do you think? How do you think they would see it?
I should say, when you listen to this, I really appreciate your patience, because you said you are going to play this recording on this radio program. I have got lots of negative comments about this music and some positive comments. But I understand that since this is called Bee-gaah, this is not called Chahar Mizrab Segah, for example, or Love Song for Broken Hearts and so on. It is called Bee-gaah, so it is kind of, out of the way of tradition, as I have said on the CD cover. It's really natural. I just think that we should let some time process this whole thing. If it is something good, then it stays. If it is not something good, then who cares? It's going to be gone.
More of that idea of kind of timelessness, right?
It's such an irony that in this timelessness, time is the critical ingredient that is going to process everything.
To be without it is to almost emphasize it even more. The absence of it almost has more of a presence.